I had this beautiful fantasy of being able to get the engine in, buying a new core support because the ones that I had were rotten out of the bottom. And I remembered that the donor truck that I had a rotten core support. It was kind of chewed up in the bottom of it. And so I was like, well, I don't remember the core support in the original truck being all that bad, but the whole front clip is still put together. Back in over here. Okay, so I thought that, well, because the core support from the donor truck was nasty, that I could take the core support from the original truck and use that, clean that up and slap it in here and get the core support sitting in here so I could get the inner fenders ready to go. So whenever I got the engine in, I could get the radiator mounted up to it. I can run the brake lines and everything and make sure that I'm not going to interfere with the inner fender. Well, that didn't happen quite the way I'd hoped. The original core support is worse off than the one from the donor. So this is the one from the donor, and there's rust all throughout here and all over in here. I've got my tetanus, so it's good. I can stick my finger in there. And then all of this is just pouring out of here. It's just backed up as far in there as I can feel it. All of that's just completely rotten. Yeah, it's pretty bad in there. It's all rusted through. That is nasty. Alright, so I've hit this with the wire wheel, cleaned it up in here. It's pretty bad. Really pitted. I don't care about pitting, I want it to be able to hold up. This area where it actually secures to the frame seems to be solid. I took a wire wheel to all of this. I want to see where it would go. The rust started here. When I hit it with the wire wheel, it started to kind of chew away over here, so I'm going to end up having to come in probably right about here and cut this whole section out. And then over here, it's about like it is on the other side. Same area, so I'm going to have to cut this section out. Like I said, this is just a temporary fix. If I had no other option, I would try to take all of this apart and rebuild it, but I'm not even sure where all the spot welds are to be able to pull this panel off to get up underneath here. And the fact that there's metal layered on metal is why this thing failed in the first place. gap back, man. A huge gap right there. It's all right. I'm going to fill, there's a couple of pinholes right in here, and I'm going to put the other piece of metal in, and I'm going to drill those out and then weld those in. And right in there, I just ran a couple of just tack to make a little caterpillar. I'm just going to kind of hold that in place. And then on the back, where I've got that huge gap, I'm going to use that to help adhere this back panel. So this other piece of metal that has to come on here. So I'm not going to lose sleep over that. So I'm going to have to grind a couple of these little high spots smooth so the other plate can fit on there nicely. And I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Using 14 gauge steel. So I'm going to go ahead and make a piece now that comes around and wraps over this. Alright, so after a bunch of trial and error, got something that slightly resembles what it is that I want in there. So after getting that fully welded in, all the way around the sides, and over here on the inside, I need to grind all that down, and then right in here I need to trim this out so it matches and drill a hole. All right, there's one down. Get the hole drilled through it. Cleaned up a little bit. It's not perfect. I'm not going to make it perfect because I don't spend that much time on it. I just need the thing working. Smoothed all that out in there. So now I'm going to have to clean up this one. That one's pretty bad. There's a gap right here too. I want to close that gap up. But I'm using a thicker gauge metal, so I'm not, it's getting stronger. No matter what I'm doing, it's getting stronger. But I'm going to cut all this out, right about right there. Got spot welds, and then hit those. And then right here, I mean, just not even trying, it's just breaking off. So, let's get to it. I got both of these done. This side here, on the inside, it was all rusted through right there, so I cleaned all that up and welded that in. And did this side too. It was the same as the other side, except it wasn't quite as bad. So in here, I was able to fill some of this in with weld. I put a piece of metal in behind it, filled that in with weld, and grounded that smooth. And I'm going to flip it over. These are where I drilled the spot welds out, and I need to fill those in with weld. And I'll do that when I flip this thing back over. For now, working on this. So I ground, no, those are not hot. So I ground this down. Right here, there was the two spot welds. I'm going to cut right up in this area and right about here. but it is one piece. Grind those down and grind all of that down and see what she looks like. Just killed one of my grinders. Wind's kicking up. Just what I wanted. This is phosphoric acid, phospho. It converts the iron oxide into iron phosphate. So I'm going to spray this on here and I'm going to let it set.